Today I'm going to read to you Meg and Jim's sled trip. And if I look at the cover, the book interests me because we sled here in our state, and that kind of looks like my sister's house actually, and that looks like my own children with their orange sleds, or kids here at school even with their orange sleds this time of year. So it interests me already. And here we go. We're going to be talking about schema. That's that book to book, text to text, text to self, book to self, or text to world, book to our world. And our schema grows and changes as we read our books. It doesn't always stay the same. So right now my schema is saying, oh, these are two kids and they're going to go sledding. Probably this is Meg and probably this is Jim, and they're at their house in the field. So that's what my schema is right now. Let's see what happens as I work through it, because good readers always think about their reading as they go through the book. Meg and Jim's sled trip. Meg and Jim and Mom and Dad sit snug in the den as the wind gusts and the snow drifts outside. So already my schema is changing because I now know they're probably in some kind of a snowstorm that's happening. And so they're all just looking for something to do. And maybe they don't even have school that day because it got canceled because of the snowstorm. The pictures sometimes help my schema too, because it looks like the storm stopped before I even start to read, so don't forget to look at those pictures. At last the wind and snow stop. The sun is out, and a blanket of snow is on top of the land. Oh, my schema is telling me what I know about snow and how silent it is the day after we have a huge storm where the wind whips across our house, and how excited my kids are when the sun comes out and they know they can go out and play with it. So my schema is telling me they're probably getting ready to go outside and play, and there probably is not any school that day. So maybe it's a weekend, because they probably wouldn't be going out to play during a school day. Meg and Jim get dressed to sled. They put on snow pants and jackets. They put on mittens and hats too. Oh, that's the magic page, right? The page that appears on the cover. They drag their red sleds past the elm tree to the top of the big sled hill. Oh, my schema was right. They are in their yard, it sounds like, because they didn't drive anywhere to go anywhere. So sometimes my schema stays right on track, and sometimes it changes while I'm reading the book. Get set, go, yells Jim as he jumps in his sled. Meg jumps in her sled too. The sleds go fast down the hill. Oh, that taps into my schema, what I know. Sometimes, especially when it's a little icy, the sleds get really fast in the snow. Oh, and here's my schema again. It's hard work walking back up the hill to sled down again, but it's worth the fun, isn't it? When they stop, Meg and Jim jump up and run back to the top. Their red sleds zigzag on the snow as they drag them up the hill. On the next trip, Jim jumps in the back of Meg's sled. The sled goes faster and faster until it spins and hits a big snowdrift. Oh, that just made me kind of take my breath, suck in my breath, because I know, based on my schema, what I know about snow is it's cold when it hits your face, and I bet that snowdrift went right in their face. Oh, and my schema says I know how it feels to get thrown out of the sled, even though they're smiling. She's bracing herself for the thump that she hits. The sled jumps up and lands with a bump. Oh, I felt that before. I bet you have too, my friends. And dumps Meg and Jim in the soft snow. Meg and Jim have snow on their hats and on their jackets. They have snow down their necks and in their mittens. Oh, brr, my schema tells me I know how cold that is. That's happened to me before in the snow. Up and down they go until they have to rest. Meg and Jim sit on top of the hill. The sun glints on the trees that are dusted with wind-swept snow. And I know they must be tired. Whew. I bet they come into their house for cocoa. That's what we do when we sled. Again, thinking about my schema, the things that I have experienced or read in other books to help me read this book and predict what's going to happen. Sometimes that schema stays the same, and other times it changes as I read the story. Meg and Jim drag their sleds back past the elm tree. I see their mother here waiting for them. Maybe she has hot cocoa ready for them. We always take our snow stuff and put it by the stove so that it dries faster so we can go back out again. So that's my schema. So I'm surprised to see them hang them up again and not put them somewhere warm. When they get in, they undress and hang up their jackets and snow pants on pegs. They put their wet hats and mittens on the rack. We have a mitten rack at my house. Helps them dry out a little bit better. It looks like she's maybe telling her adventures of the big snowdrift. Let's see if I'm right. And they do look like they're having hot cocoa. I might have been right with my schema. Meg and Jim and Mom and Dad snack on muffins and sip mugs of hot drinks. Meg and Jim tell Mom and Dad about their sled runs and jumps and bumps. And my schema was right. Even just looking at the picture, I can access my schema. It helps me remember what's going on in the book, but it also helps me predict what might happen in the book. Meg and Jim had fun in the snow. What a great book about winter time. And if you don't experience winter, then you don't know, you don't have as much schema as someone who here in our state experiences schema. So your schema really helps you read this book.